Welcome back. This is episode 2 of Overdeveloped. This one not in person, this one on call, and also on Spotify for the first time. Uh,
Big.
I'm going to have to figure out how to get a proper Spotify link to put in my descriptions, but you can look it up as Overdeveloped. Will it come up? I don't know. I don't think it shows up until the first episode goes out. The first episode and the second episode are coming out at the same time. But yeah. Um, I am joined by SirTomGames. I'm just gonna call him Tom. He is a very good friend of mine. We have known each other for about a little under 4 years, I think, probably at this point. We went to school together. We were on the same team, multiple teams actually. Some with our university, others not. And yeah, we've just been good buds ever since. He is my go-to ranked partner. So if you see me streaming and he's yelling at me, there's a reason. He's got the credentials. So Tom, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good introduction. Yeah, we've known each other a while now. We love yapping about Overwatch and talking about design and stuff like that. So I think this will this will just be our normal hour-long calls, except recorded this.
Yeah. This time we're not trying to play ranked on top of being like, so
Yeah,
which perks do you think are good?
yeah, this time we're not asking because we're actively picking the perks.
Yeah. All right. So I guess let's just go ahead and start. General thoughts. We have had these for a week. We've gotten to play. We've played a decent amount of ranked in this time already.
Yeah.
And I think we've tried different combos, played a bunch of different roles. What are you thinking about perks? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Is there anything that stands out to you as like a positive, negative, just general opening here?
I think overall, I I haven't been like as in touch with the community as a whole, I think, over like this past season. But my impression has been that overall, like it's been a pretty major success. Like I feel like a lot of people have been coming back. I wanted to play a lot more. I feel like there's like this is the biggest innovation we've got maybe ever. I mean, like outside of, I mean, you could say the format swapped to 5v5, but even that's like, it was still the same game. You're just now down a tank, but like you didn't have a lot of true mechanics changes. And I feel like this is almost as if they added, a few multiple new heroes at a time. Like some of these things can completely change how you play some of the heroes, and I think it's making the game feel very, very fresh and kind of dynamic. I think it also, especially for a game that's been out, what we're coming up on
Nine,
almost 10 years now. Yeah.
9 years.
Like there's definitely times where like you end up kind of falling in the same rut and you almost like you kind of just play on autopilot because like how many times have you played, I don't know, Winston on Hollywood or something, and it's just like sometimes it feels like I'm replaying a game that I like I'm just watching a replay from like 6 years ago or something. But I feel like this has really made me like think in my games more, think about my comp versus their comp. I also think, I don't know if they directly came out and said this, but I definitely have noticed a big reduction in like true counter swapping. I people tend to stick with whatever they're earning their perks on a lot more, I think,
Hmm.
which definitely makes it less frustrating, I think, when a lot of people were not happy with how counter swappy it felt. And I think overall it's been like super, super positive and kind of hit everything they wanted to. I think it could have used maybe like a month more in the oven. Like there's definitely a few rough edges, and like you can see. I feel like there's some perks where you can kind of see the vision, and then some perks where they had 2 days to turn something around, and they said, okay, cool, we'll bump this number up whenever you use this ability, and then
Hmm.
called it a day. But I think this is a really good start, and it sounds like they're very interested in kind of iterating and shuffling stuff around, which I think will be good.
Yeah, I think pretty quickly we'll probably see a lot of them change. It sounds like, they're kind of aware of which ones are not so, one, transformative, or like two, worth it, some of them might swap their rank at all, but I actually, this is actually how we started the last podcast, talking about counter swapping with these. You brought up that, counter swapping is, you've noticed it less, right? Like, a lot of people tend to stick on their hero. I actually kind of want to bring up that, personally, I found the same thing, right? I think people in ranked really do stick, and they stay with their characters a lot. But as I have played more and kind of experimented, and also watched a little bit of like OWCS, I have noticed a considerable amount of counter swapping, or just swapping in general, happening, because they've got systems for it. So there's a part of me that thinks that maybe counter swapping, or just swapping in general, is good. Like, it might in fact be better in many ways, because you can't swap your perks, and you kind of can get it really quickly by the end of the game. So kind of understanding where a character's end goal is, you can then swap to another one, and like kind of play around that. What do you think? Do you think in the long run that people are going to kind of stay sticky and want to keep on their characters? Or do you think people are going to start picking up on that kind of trend?
It's definitely. I know I was personally very surprised by how quickly you could earn perks
Oh yeah.
after swapping, because it almost feels like, especially, it depends a little bit on the mode, but any mode, like if you're doing like a payload map and you have like, I don't know, a 10-second poke phase before the fight, like you can get, especially if it's end game and you swapped, like you should basically be able to poke out your minor perk like pre-fight. Like it is that fast.
Slam 5 on
I
ball, you get it
wonder,
instantly.
yeah, like I wonder if they'll want to adjust that and slow it down. I think the thing about like true counter swapping, like I'm you're just always gonna want to swap Ana into the Hog, right? Like
Hmm.
no minor or major perk is gonna fill the role of anti, to where it's like I think it helps when you're playing like a matchup that's more like 60-40, that maybe someone would be like, maybe I'm playing into an Orisa and I'm really having trouble, and like, maybe you're playing like the Doom or a Reinhardt, and you can't get anything done with this Orisa.
Hmm.
I feel like now people are more likely to stick with whatever they are than swap to a advantage matchup, like swapping to a Zarya. I feel
Right.
like people are more likely to stick in those even matchups with the perks, because sometimes the perks like can switch the matchup up a little bit. So I feel like those closer matchups, I would think, would still be less prone to swapping. But I also wonder if the community just hasn't gotten a feel for how fast you can get the perks. Like, I wonder if in a few weeks everyone's going to start being like, okay, well, I can get my perk back in a fight, so I'm going to go
Yeah.
ahead and swap to whatever's better here.
I
But
think
I do think
also,
you have kind of like a sunk cost fallacy where you like, yeah, I have these
yeah.
perks, I don't really want to swap. Like, I was excited to pick whatever perk I went with. I put thought into it, and now I don't really want to give it up.
I think it's also a possibility that like some characters build them like not as efficiently. So like I talked about ball, you literally can just roll through slam, and then you're just like you've got it instantly. Or Doom, you get a couple of good like cleave punches or a slam or something. But like I think about other characters, maybe like, I don't know, like a Cass, right? And you have to like, have to hit shots consistently. They have to be in your LOS, right? It's not as, you can't really push the advantage like a tank, or you can't really get some passive healing like a support. So some people might think that, they try to swap to their other characters that don't build it as quickly, and then kind of go, this isn't worth it. But at the same time, with those characters that do it super quickly, you would think some people would go like, whoa, holy, and kind of like fall back into it. I think time will tell, and I think as maybe as streamers, start doing it more, um, people will kind of catch on, because also I guess like maybe a lot of like higher ranked players don't find that you really need to. Although I think it can still be good. They might find like, oh, I'm good enough that like I've got like the counterplay to an extent, and I'm just gonna play, I play Lucio or I play Juno only, and I'm just gonna stick on it. So people might kind of be like seeing them not swap at all, and then go, okay, sounds good. Like they say it can be done. Um, I don't know. I don't know how the community will react, but I do think that swapping is definitely like viable, and it's a good point to bring up the super close matchups, because that I think it really helps. Like you don't have to swap. You don't have to feel like you can get a little advantage. But yeah, you're right. Like Hog and the Ana, just because he walks 20% faster isn't gonna change that matchup.
Yeah, anti is still just the against the Maga, against the Hog, it's just so strong.
Yeah.
I think the counter swapping, I do think I think the way people talk about it, I feel like counter swapping, at least in my opinion, is like pretty much exclusively a tank issue. Like very
Yeah.
rarely do I find myself. I guess if you want to consider it counter swapping, if you have like if you're running like on a Zen, like a really greedy backline, and then they're punishing you a little bit more, I don't really consider that like counter swapping. But I feel like it's typically just the tank matchups where I'm like, okay, they have they have a tank that gets truly, screwed over by anti-nade, or like really struggles against the Mei wall or something like that. Whereas I feel like I have not, definitely I haven't seen DPS swap as much. I think the
Mm-hmm.
DPS typically are like they're not as like niche, I think, as some of the tanks. Where like the tanks are kind of all in on doing one thing.
Right.
Whereas like a lot of the DPS are a bit more like generalists. Like, yeah, you want to play Ashe at like, a long range, but can you also play Ashe like a little closer, like maybe where you'd play like a soldier or a Cass? Yeah, she's fine. And if you have your perks, maybe you're just not too worried about it. Like I feel like the DPS swapping, though I don't know that that was a big issue in the first place, so maybe it's not super impactful, but I don't know. I think it's definitely role dependent on the counter swap. Like I think tanks will still notice some counter swapping, but I think that's just the nature of like you are the most impactful role in the game. There's one of you. Like I don't think that'll ever be able to be fully legislated out of the system.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. So yeah, I think time will tell what is actually typically better. Yeah, especially for tanks. But I think there are a couple DPS, like a Bastion or really like a Torb. That kind of like, again, the niche characters that will kind of reel their head. So I kind of want to move into you know perks as kind of like additions, or honestly even somewhat fixing slash reworking certain characters, right? Because one thing that I kind of like, I think a lot of people don't really consider is that like having to pick, you don't have to pick technically, but like picking a minor or a major perk will, like, it's going to happen and you're permanently going to make that character do something different, right? So in the example of Torb, I think both his major perks kind of shake up his gameplay in a lot more interesting way. The sticky turret, obviously, you have a lot more of like decision making with the turret. Honestly, just putting it in a weird spot is protection enough to where you get a lot more value out of it, even if it's out in the open. And then like the other one where you get the level 3 turret, where you kind of have to think about when you throw a turret or when you overload. Um, and to me, that's like kind of like making Torb's gameplay loop a lot more interesting. Uh, do you think there are, one, any other examples would you think, but do you think they were successful a lot of the time, or do you think that a lot more work needs to be done? Because I definitely have my opinions on some of them, but there are definitely a couple that I think have done at least something to make them more interesting overall.
I think some of the major perks are in kind of a weird spot to where like the main one to me that comes to mind is the Junkrat one, where it gives him an extra like 40% projectile speed. That feels like a completely different character.
Yeah.
Like it is in the hands of a good Junkrat, it is like almost oppressive. Like it's very very strong. But at the same time, it's like it's it's weird to, I don't know, if you really like the feel of that Junkrat, like it's like, okay, but now I have to play this like really slow projectile Junkrat for the first 3 minutes of the game. Like
Mm-hmm.
it feels that sometimes the pacing on major abilities, if they really change up the gameplay a lot, can feel kind of weird. Like I think when the perks first came out and we were kind of reading through them, and we were talking about Orisa Shield coming back.
Right.
And it was like, okay, would I want to give up spin for Orisa Shield? And you were like, oh, well, if you're going to Inzaria. But I when I think of that, I'm like, okay, but am I really like, am I gonna stick with Orisa all the way through to her major perk for getting a shield that, regardless of whether it's actually that good or not, it's like, I don't know. Like that's just, I don't know that I want. If I need whatever this gameplay change is to feel like this character is effective, I don't want it to be a major perk to where like I'm now kind of just playing two different versions of the character during the
Mm-hmm.
game. I think Torbs is a good one where it's like, yeah, it'd be nice to have those at the start, but like it feels like an addition to his kit rather than like supercharging or like completely changing how he feels.
Right.
Like he still does Torb things, he just kind of does them more or like in a slightly different way. Whereas like the Junkrat thing, like changing your your primary damage dealing thing by a value of almost 50%, like just really really changes the way he plays. Like if you're used to aiming on Junkrat, like now you have to have like two sets of muscle memory to be effective on this character. Not to mention you're also tracking the mine projectile, and oh maybe your trap is also going 50% farther. It's like there's just a lot to balance. And then if you, yeah, it's a lot going on there to where I don't know how I feel about those. Like I don't personally play Junkrat, but when I leveled it up to level 3, I was like, this feels pretty good. Like I think I would consider playing Junkrat more if it played more
Mm-hmm.
like this. But like obviously that's a bit strong of a buff to have him right out the gate. So I don't know how you balance that, or maybe you then consider a base kit change, or is it good to have kind of an alternative playstyle on a major role? I don't really know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about like where do you draw the line about like changing a perk or changing the base kit, because yeah, like you said, Junkrat feels better to you and kind of feels a lot more interesting with that perk. But one, there's two versions of Junkrat, and two, if it's like, well, if I want, let's say Junkrat to feel a little better overall, just say you increase his projectile speed by 10%, right? Base. Well, then that affects the perk, and if you bring the perk down then to get it to like the same speed, then it's like not as good anymore. But if you don't change it, then you still have the same, like, you know what I mean? I feel like there's so many like weird stipulations there. And at what point do you finding the point where you change the character and not the perk, I think is going to be very difficult. In fact, I don't think we're going to see it very often for a while because of how they coversely affect everything else, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's interesting. I think some of the perks, again, like there are transformative. I think like Sojourn's double slide actually feels really good, even though it changes. But that's just because you're using slide, and you just, I don't know, it kind of just barely changes her trajectory. Yeah, I don't know. Are there any of the ones that feel a lot like better to you? Maybe a couple of perks that just like are there any that are transformative that like legitimately make sense or like aren't super awkward to transition into?
I really like the Bastion perk.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very fun getting back to kind of his old alt feel. But again, that feels very much like the Orisa thing, where it's like if I'm picking this Bastion, I'm probably going into something that I want to melt a big shield with. Like I'm going into like a Reinhardt or like a Ram or a Winston, where every time they jump in, I want to have this turret form available.
Right.
And like really, if you're using the rockets, you probably want to be going against something that's not shielding. You want to be going against like a JQ or something where like there's a lot of open space that you can weave these missiles in. So like it feels weird when you wouldn't want to pick the base character in a certain situation, but you
Hmm.
would want the empowered character in that situation.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's also like it's kind of like sunk cost as well, where it's like I roll out on Bastion, and then I don't know, we do like one fight maybe, and I get 25% of my perk, and it's like, well, in 75% in one whole level, like
Yeah.
I'll have something that'll worthwhile to this comp, and it's like, why not just swap at that point, right? Like, in what situations is Bastion going to be useful enough to justify playing him the entire time to get to like a better version against it? I think that's going to be like, I don't know, that to me sounds like a Bastion problem. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the perk, there's a problem there, I guess, but like Bastion again, it's like those niche characters, right? Where it's like, how do I justify playing the niche character to a point where they're no longer going to be niche 4 minutes into the future, where the round is already ended and I didn't even get to the major perk anyways.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a little that way with the Weaver cleanse as well, where it's like, okay, but if you really want to cleanse, like you should probably just swap Geary. Like, do you really want to? Because then it's like, okay, sure, like whatever. One fight is gonna happen regardless, right? Like I can't go swap the Kiri mid fight, so like I'm if I'm Weaver this fight, I'm not gonna have my cleanse. But then it's like, okay, if you lose that fight and you're like halfway to your perk, it's like, okay, maybe I get it by the time the fight starts. So if someone gets antied first, and it's like, okay, like I should probably just still swap. To where it's like, I don't know. At what point am I picking the cleanse, especially as a minor perk? When am I gonna be like, okay, I need to commit and get this cleanse instead of just swapping to Kiriko? Not to mention the fact that Kiriko is just like a better character, but like assuming they're even, right? They fill
Mm-hmm.
different niches or whatever, and it's like, I don't know. If you really want this cleanse, don't you just want the ability that does the cleanse better,
Yeah.
and then you get other perks?
Yeah, I agree. I think that some of them are, I don't know. It feels like not as thought out, you know. And I guess we can transition into like some of the ones that you maybe not like necessarily power per se of like good and bad, but like what in your mind makes a good perk, right? Because you talk about the life weaver one. It's like, well, why don't I just swap? If that's really what I want, it's much easier. I've got other easier options that are going to be better. But like, what to you makes like a good perk or a set of perks compared to the ones that are kind of underwhelming?
I think, like, it's almost weird because with the Weaver thing, it's like I want perks that open up new plays, and I don't necessarily think that the cleanse really opens up a new play because, like, if someone is antied and low, I'm probably gonna pull them regardless of whether or not this is cleansing them, right? Like, I kind of hope that the effect wears off or they're far enough out of the fight to where, like, I guess this is a nice boost, but I don't think it really changes my gameplay at all. Like if someone slept, I'm gonna pull them. If someone's antied, I might need to pull them if they get low. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's perks that give you that just make what you were already gonna do better. I don't think are super interesting. But there's kind of a caveat to that. It's not even what you were gonna do better. It's more like if they don't change your thinking about usage at all, I don't think they're good perks.
Right.
Because like if you look at I think it's the Kiriko minor perks.
The
I
healing of food, the two extras when you hit a shot, and then the one that's
Yeah,
like fifty
and the one
percent.
that does extra
Yeah,
critical. I think that's a really good example of like
it's faster
these
than crit.
both
Sorry.
just do what she was gonna do better, right? Like these both are they're just straight up buffs. Like they don't change how she plays it all. You could play the exact same way and with these perks and like they would trigger on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes it's like, okay, if I have the thing that shoots healing off when I'm doing damage, it's like, okay, well maybe now I'm playing a little bit more aggressive when we're starting fights. I'm not as
Mm-hmm.
worried about healing up their little stuff because I know if I'm hitting my kunai. And like that is a legitimate gameplay change and consideration where I don't think like the cleanses on the pull is because it's just like it's not going to change what you're going to do anyway.
Yeah, it's like I think that's a really good example because it's effectively two extra ways to heal, right? It's like two ways to amplify your healing value. You have to make a conscious choice around them, and you kind of have to like think about the situation, right? I'm playing more stacked. I'm playing a little more like safer with my team. Maybe I play for the one that shoots extra ones when I hit a shot, right? Or if my team is spread out, divier, then I don't need to necessarily TP or play as close to my team to help them the same way. So like it does, like, you do consider it in your gameplay, I think, sure, but it's also like an interesting decision that you had to make. Whereas, and it relating to like kind of the same thing, right? I'm trying to think. There's a couple of like other ones that are the Echo Duplicate one. Both her minor perks relate to duplicate, right? One, you can duplicate your allies. The other one, it's like you get extended duration on the first dupe, right? So then you're thinking, okay, well, I can get like a guaranteed value with just duping this, right? We kind of do like maybe do double Winston dive or whatever. Or the other one where it's like, okay, well, I can get a pulse bomb very easy. Maybe it's better for me to go for the tracer and then like extend my duration that way and go for like super balls to the wall, that kind of style. I think those are really, really interesting. I don't think they all have to be like that to be interesting, but the ones that like you have to give up some kind of buff because it's literally related to that thing, I think those are some of the best, at least choices, that even if they aren't as active in the game, they feel like an active decision, right?
Yeah, I think the best perks make you make future decisions differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like they should make me think about how I'm playing the game differently. If I pick, I don't know, if I pick a perk and I'm now faced with a situation, I would like it to at least open up the consideration of like, should I be playing this differently than I should have if I was just purely the base kit character. I think that marks good perk design because it's kind of always, because I also think like then after the game, like, oh man, that perk felt really impactful. Like, I got the bouncy nade or the double Ana bouncy nade,
Mm-hmm.
and like it really changed how I played this certain situation, and it made me feel smart because I naded myself and then I naded the wall, and like that helped me survive this dive. And I think like having moments like that leads to a really positive experience. Whereas if it's just like a perk that just says like you have plus 10% damage, it just doesn't change how the way you play at all. And I don't think that's the kind of perks we want. I think perks should encourage different decision making.
Yeah, and I think it's also like, obviously like case by case basis, because there are a couple of perks that are like you get a percentage increase, you get like a cooldown reduction, you get like an increase in distance or something. But I think there's a stark difference in like we are increasing the distance of a movement ability because that can in theory open up so many more possibilities. Like I think about Hazard's Violent Leap, right? Yes, that is just a straight buff to one of his abilities, but the nature of said ability, it allows it to open up more
Yeah,
and allow
it
you to do
opens
more
new
stuff.
choices where like maybe you couldn't dive that high ground from this distance before, but now you're able to get up there and contest their soldier or their cast who's up there. Like even if on normal hazard you'd be like, okay, I need to go contest that high ground. Maybe now it opens up new angles, or you're able to do it from a different cover. Like I think that one is still actively impacting you while you play, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's just a number boost.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I think the mobility ones especially, like changing any way you're gonna use your mobility, because mobility is like such an active, like you constantly have to be thinking about it and like how you're gonna use it. And hazard leap, it's like, okay, what angle exactly am I jumping at? But now I'm jumping further, so it's like, okay, maybe I can do a shorter angle so I'm there faster that I normally wouldn't be able. Normally I'd have to do a high angle, but like because I have this extra leap distance, I can do it differently. And I think like there's still a lot of active decision making with perks like that.
Yeah, I think those are typically pretty good. Um, the other thing is like I think that's kind of like for minor perks specifically, those like less like they're pretty mild changes are fine, but for major perks, what do you think? Like, do you think that most of them should be pretty transformative? Because they should be powerful, right? They are the major perk, but there definitely are a couple of major perks that are a little like underwhelming. I think about Venture's major perk set where it's like, I think giving them increased like range on their primary, that's really good, but it's boring. And then the other option is like just extra shields on Clobber, which is, nice, I guess. But it's also just, again, like it's not very transformative. You're not really thinking about it in most situations. So I think like, what are like good major perks that don't, destroy the character or just kind of feel like a wet noodle?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting position because I think there's a lot of minor perks that like completely transform how an ability plays. Especially, I think the design decision behind that is typically you are getting your minor perk right when you get your first ult. So if they have a perk that affects your ult, I I mean I haven't looked through them all, but I would feel pretty confident saying I think almost all of them are minor perks because it would feel really bad like if you want to get to this major perk that affects your ult, but you can't use it on your first ult, or it's like you really don't
Yeah.
want to encourage people saving their ult that long. So like
Oh, that's a good point.
it's hard to make perks around ults that aren't minor perks, but therefore it's like, okay, well, how far can we push it on a minor perk? Because it's like the ult is already a power spike, and
Hmm.
like you're fine to, you're trading your perk for like a temporary power spike in your ult versus like constant value. But how high can you push that before it just becomes like insane? Like you can't really make their
Yeah.
ult too much crazier on the minor perk, but you kind of have to make it a minor perk if you want it to affect the
Or you
ult.
just let Sojourn one shot again. That's
Yeah.
also something you could do. I actually do think it's really interesting the way that those work around because the ones with ults, specifically when they only have one minor perk that affects their ult, um, it gets really interesting to try to figure out like which one you pick because now you have like a tempo decision. One, do I want to play faster overall so I get my perk first? Because I think that on average, when you play slower, you typically get your ult faster because you have passive time generation, with your ult. But perks either don't have it at all or it's so minuscule that it's like not even noticeable. So the faster you play and the more that you're like doing quicker, you get your perks first. And with certain characters like Juno and even like Soj, you might want to just pick the one that doesn't affect your ult to be more effective first, right? That could be the play. Or you might think like, well, my Juno is going to get a perk first. Let me hold a second on Soj to pick my perk, or I'll just pick the overclock one, and then I get my value out of my perk on my first ult, or something like that. I think that those are actually really interesting choices you have to make because sometimes you might even want the ult one, but still want to pop your ult before you get the perk. Those include a lot of like different decisions you have to make. I think those are like those in theory are good choices as well.
I just looked through them all, and there is one major perk that affects the ultimate. It's the double nano boost.
Right,
But
right.
I think every single other one is a minor perk. But honestly, honest two minor perks feel like major perks.
Yeah, dude, I think
So
I think Groggy is like obviously the Biomanate, everyone's like, holy, that's so cool, double splash, whatever. Groggy is so
I
annoying.
think if you could
It's
pick two minor perks on Ana, I think I probably would.
if Groggy was a major perk, I'd be like, that sounds pretty good.
Like, yeah, like both of Anna's minor perks are just kind of insane. Honestly, I've been less impressed with the double nano than I thought I would be.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it it's kind of comp dependent, I guess. But for the most part, if I'm playing Ana, right, I'm playing with something like
A
a
Winston.
Winston or a
Yeah.
Diva, something that wants to go deep, to where it's like, oh yeah, I'm nano. It's like I can't see
See,
anyone.
I think
Like,
when you take the double nano, it's about defense, right? So like
yeah,
you
it's
you
kind of anti. It's like if they're coming in and you're like, all right, we'll trade backlines, but I'm getting nanoed, so it's
yeah.
more difficult for them to kind of trade it
All
off.
I'll say is that if I'm a Winston and I jump a backline and the break and the honor are both nanoed, I'm shitting my pants, man. Like holy, I don't want to see that at all. A lot of people have also brought up the fact that like for Ana, and I think this will be like a last kind of like major topic on perks here. Um, some of them have really good synergy with each other, right? You can kind of like make a build in theory. In particular, like Ana, you can take the double nade and then nano yourself. So you've actually kind of like increased nade's capability by a lot during nano. And there's a couple of different examples like that, like Hazard can get the slash that does more to the higher health targets, and he can make him go further. So like if you're against a bulkier poke comp, well now you've got a build that kind of like slices through it. And I think there's plenty of examples. How I guess like we would not know this yet, but like do you think that it's going to end up being in a lot of cases like the right call to like buff and like kind of play for the synergies with the perks, or do you think it's going to be a lot less about that and more just like pick the right individual one?
Hmm. That's interesting. I think so. So how is it like? Okay, so if I'm always if I'm picking this minor perk, am I always gonna want to pick this major perk to pair
Yeah,
with?
that kind of like that kind of thought.
I think. Hmm. I can't think of a ton of examples. I think if we I mean, I don't know that they'd ever do this, but I think if we got another level of perks, like if once you start getting to like 3, I think you can start getting some strong combinations.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general right now, most of the time I'm just picking the stronger perk for the situation. I think for the most part though, that does tend to be like the synergy pick, because if I thought this whatever minor perk is synergizing with this major perk was the correct pick, then I'm probably going to think the major perk is also pretty good with it.
That's fair. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing where it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm picking the synergy pick, but I also picked this first one because I obviously thought it was good right now. So it's like, is it? I don't think it will become an issue. I think as long as the perk balance is decent, I think they've done a decent. I think on the perks where the choice is difficult, I don't see that becoming an issue
Mm-hmm.
because they can be so strong in different situations.
Yeah, I don't think of many examples where I felt like I really do need to kind of think that way, right? Like when I'm I guess I'm trying to think of like a couple examples like I don't need to get I don't know, maybe the overclock one, and then I get the adhesive siphon so I build rail faster in my ult because you can get it through the disruptor. I don't really think that's like necessarily good enough if you just need to escape, right? Like I think there's a lot more decisions to make, and that's a good point you brought up about um only having two choices for the whole match. You're right. I think if there were more, you could really go talk about it, which is something that will be explored in Stadium that we have no idea about. We know nothing about. Our lips are sealed. Loose lips sync Blizzard HQ. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that is perks. Is there anything that you want to bring up before we kind of move on to the next section? Anything you want to talk about in particular?
You wanna rip through these rankings real fast?
Which rankings do you mean?
I have best minor perks, best major perks, worst perks, and then most fun perks.
I've actually literally my last 2 videos have been like best and worst minor perks.
Okay.
So I won't like give you my whole spiel. If you want to hit me with what you think,
Sure, yeah, I can
indulge
run
you.
through it real
Yeah.
fast. I think best minor perks. I threw on Kiri as an honorable mention. I think both of her minor perks are just
really good.
solid.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Sigma. I don't think the longer rock stun is very good. I think his accretion thing is like one of the best perks in the game.
That's what
getting
I
accretion back faster is so good.
Yeah.
I think
It's not
Sojourn.
insignificant either. It's like
No, it's like I've cut off like 5 seconds without that big.
If you eat like 200 damage, yeah, it's like 500. It's like
like
it's crazy.
I don't know what the rate is, but
and you get the
you're getting
bulk,
rock back
right?
way faster.
Yeah, and you get the bulk from grasp to like throw it for free. So like that's also something.
No, it's super good, I think.
Yeah.
Sojourn, obviously, no surprise, her minor perks, the extra ammo and the overclock are just really solid.
Yeah.
And then we already talked about Ana. I think her minor perks are super good. For best major perks, honestly, I think most of the major perks, I'm honestly, I don't know if it's just because I expect minor perks to be worse, to where like those 4 really stick out in value for me. I had a harder time picking the best major perks, honestly. I think Doom's is low-key a sleeper.
Power Matrix is actually
it's
like
really
so
good.
Yeah.
It does exactly what you want block to do, even better, and it like fills up super fast. And I don't know if I haven't played a lot of Doom with it. I don't know if it's just visual, but like the visual thing on it is like massive. I don't know if it's actually
it's like a mini grasp, I think.
It's like ridiculously large. Like I don't know. It's like, yeah, that thing is huge.
And it says it's for 1 second. It feels longer. I know it's
yeah,
not. It feels really long.
Like an eternity. I think Torb's major perks are both really good. The level 3 turret and the deployable turret, I think, are both very solid, depending on what you want. And I think they're not the flashiest, but I think Ash's major perks are also really good.
Yeah,
the
2-tap
25 is really nice, and then if they're really like bunkering on cart or something, the big dynamite is also pretty sick.
Yeah, I think the ammo one is probably like, because it's also like extra damage, which I kind of forgot about when I did that video. I just kept thinking like, oh, extra ammo, that's good. You don't have to reload. But I really forgot that there was like an extra like 25.
The extra damage is really.
Why does it need that?
Honestly, I feel like some of the biggest losers with perks are like these tanks with no sort of damage and shield blocking, because like if you're rocking the Cass major perk or the Ash major perk and you're going against the Hog, it's just like. It's just free shooting for days. Like they have a rough time into that because you are just constantly triggering.
You know, there was a bug with both the headshot Juno and Ana's headshot ones where they just like ignored Fortify. Yes, you could headshot her and Fortify.
If I was better with Ana headshot, I would have put that one there here. Like I've built up way too much muscle memory of just like throwing darts out. But like if you can hit those Ana headshots, I've always been of the opinion that if Ana came out as a DPS hero today, she would be very good. Like the 75 a hit plus an anti-nade, like whoa, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, you double that? That's insane. That is crazy. Yeah, worst perks. I gotta go with Devo. What are we? What's going on with the minor perks here? The call mech and the extra health. Like
I think the extra health is marginally useful, but like
they're just like just not. I'm never excited picking one. The menu comes up and I'm like, oh yeah. Like, you do not want to pick either one.
Does it really matter?
Like yeah. Then the Cass Deadeye refund. It's like. I think it's. You can successfully tell you rip the zoning ult.
Honestly, it probably should be like 50%. Like I see the vision, but it really isn't. I don't know if it's enough.
It's just like it's. Honestly, even if it's like, I don't think it's the worst perk ever.
No.
But it just feels bad. Like, you don't want to be rewarded for not doing anything. Yeah,
you're not like, you're not even
not
like
exciting.
You're not close to another ult. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you can kind of build build one fast. Like, you're still like a decent chunk away to get it again. And yeah, I agree.
And then it's like it creates a choice, but it's a bad one where you're like, do I hold like. I think I can get someone here. Do I activate it and I can maybe get one person?
I also
It's like,
forgot
but
that
then you feel
like
terrible if you miss.
don't
And then
for,
if you don't, it's like, okay, do I not even go for a kill and get
yeah.
my 30% back? It's
Don't
like,
forget that
these
they
are
just
just.
reworked Deadeye too. So like you can be like a little more mobile and be riskier and like get stuff done. And a lot of times it'll feel like you just like weren't fast enough to like chase people
Yeah,
and you go like, "Oh, I guess thanks." Like I don't know.
that one, I don't really know what's going on with that one. And then I got Juno. Juno's major perks where she gets a second double jump.
Mm-mm. That
It's
ain't it.
fine. Like it's not a bad perk, but like it is not exciting
Why
for
do
a
you
major
need
perk.
that? Why do you need more vertical mobility on Juno?
Like
She already
I think
has
people
decent.
wanted that as like a quality of life change, and definitely a few things that like the community wanted as like quality of life changes snuck in here, but they all snuck in as minor perks.
Yeah, like Life
Like
Weaver. Like
the Life Weaver or the Bastion Nade or the
yeah.
Zarya jump bubble. Like the Juno boots is that just you don't want to
It's
pick that
not a
as a B.
major.
That doesn't feel like a major.
Honestly, I think the glide boost one is probably better than the boots or like the refresh. The one where you go
Yeah,
super
it's
fast
just
through your ring.
yeah. I don't know. It's that one. That one's no fun. And then for fun perks,
Yeah, hit me with the fun
obviously gotta
ones.
go Bastion. The nade jump plus. I don't know if you've seen
I
anyone
have.
pull
I
off the
have.
nade jump
It's
with the rocket jump.
to the
You go to
skybox.
like the moon. It's
Yeah.
actually insane. I
Yeah.
love it. I think that's so fun. Like it's great for like a character that was like the most boring character in Overwatch 1 outside of his ult. I'm glad he's getting this little redemption here. I think that is
Yeah.
a great form for him. Um the Sigma thing where you make people float away. I think it's terrible, but super funny.
I think it's more. I think it's niche. I don't think it's terrible, but like it's like if you're tank trading, you know, especially like
Yeah, it's like
it's good in like a Sig mirror as well, probably. But like, yeah, it is really silly.
very silly, and I think a fun perk, and like if they need to tune it up a little, I don't know, maybe they'll do something with it. But I think that's super fun. And then the bouncy nade, it's a strong pick, but also man, bouncing the nade is so fun, man. I love trying to get my tank and then bouncing it onto whoever he's getting,
Hmm.
or like bouncing it at my feet and also trying to hit someone on the high ground. Like the physics on it, uh, they're a little. Sometimes you
Yeah.
hit a nade and I'm like, did a second one come out or
Yeah, like
what
instantly,
happened?
like it instantly splashes, but like the VFX of the first splash are like kind of already
Yeah, I don't know if
there
there's
or
like some
something.
sort of like point 0.1 cooldown where you can't get both or something, or like sometimes you throw it right in front of you and then it just like bounces directly behind you and you're like, okay, that's not what I was going for, but
I
regardless,
can I give
super
you a
fun.
couple like I have a couple underwhelming perks, or at least one in particular. The
Sure.
charged Orisa spear
Mm.
does not actually increase its damage. I did not know that. It is not damage.
Really?
It pierces and it makes people go further, but it doesn't increase the damage, and it does
Mm.
not feel very good in most situations. Like it looks like you're charging it, and then it just like it doesn't really get what
Yeah,
you
that
think.
one definitely it like feels sick doing it, but
Yeah.
it does take a while to
I
charge.
remember we were playing that one ranked game into the Czar, and we rolled them the first point, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the charged spear one, and I'm gonna like just try to assassinate their backline because it was like double sniper. So I'm like, I think I can do a lot more with the spear, fully not understanding that it didn't do more damage, and I was like, this is awful. And now Zarya has like real perks, and I'm like stuck.
Darius perks are good, man.
Yeah. I think another one, and I'm not gonna go into it completely because it was in my I put in my worst perks video, but it was really more of like I think it's extremely overrated. It's the Brig one where she gets like extra inspire duration off whip shot because
I think you're sleeping on that. We talked about this one the other day. I think you are straight sleeping
I
on it.
don't I
Listen, I'm terrible at Brig, man. I can hit 1 out of 2. I can hit 1 out of 2 whip shots. I need the extra duration.
when okay, think of the situation. Winston jumps me. I whip shot. I need my whip shot for
Oh no, I
Winston.
missed. Ah, fuck.
I need my whip shot for Winston, okay? I hit Winston. I give 3 extra seconds duration, so however long that duration is, right? By the time they are jumping me and getting ready to dive me, my flankers better be in position and not in my inspire radius to give them the extra duration. My Ana doesn't care about extra duration because she's standing next to me the whole time. And the next time they hit, I'm gonna be like actively using inspire just by flailing, right? So like,
I think it's more if you're running like a ball dive
maybe
and
right.
something more like you're running like an Ashe on a high ground, to where like you can't consistently proc the inspire, so you need a little bit more of the uptime. I don't think it's amazing,
But it doesn't like it's
but
not
I think
potency.
it's like fine.
It's not yeah, it's fine. It's not bad. But like it's not potency. Like I don't
Is
I don't know.
it a major or a minor?
It's a
one?
minor. It's a minor.
Come on, it's just a
It's
little
fine.
guy.
It's fine. I think a
little
lot of
guy.
people also think that I actually think that the shield one is a little underrated too. I think a lot of people think it's bad, but not to say that it's
her
great.
thing where you slam them into walls is just
that
like,
one feels awful.
Which like it's really hard to hit, and it's also
Yeah.
like when am I?
When am I
90%
using
of the
it like
time,
that?
I'm hitting someone that is like jumping at me,
Exactly.
or like flying at me. Where it's like
You would have to
I'm
catch,
never hitting anyone
you'd
near
have
a
to
wall.
catch like a flanker who's like not going for you. You know what I mean? Like something
yeah,
like
and like
that.
if they're already on you, it's like okay, what? Okay, you stand there, and I'm gonna go walk around and then hit you into this wall.
And her other perk is Quick Fix, which is just like one of the most broken perks in the game, I think.
Yeah, that one is. There's definitely ones where you can see like, okay, they were going for something a little different here, and it didn't quite land. But like, it does give me faith. Like that one. I don't think it's effective, but it's interesting.
My thought
which,
they should put that on Bash, not on Whip Shot. She should bash them.
Like bash them in a wall.
Yeah, bash them away from your team. So you have like extra, like a little extra.
Like another. Oh god, don't get Brig another poop.
Yeah, I just realized. Yeah.
Oh man.
That'd be horrible to play against. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna stand by that. I think the Brig perks they're both good. I think they're both situational. Probably you should take morale boost more often than not, but I don't think it's like best in the game minor perk. You know what I mean?
You know, I also do not think it is the best in the game.
One of the best in the game. Okay, all right. I'm surprised none of us. Well, I guess I made my video. Just in general, I think the best major perk's probably shuffling. The Kiriko one where she can TP again.
You guys are so high on that perk. I really like the speed Suzu. I'm a fan.
I mean, I don't think I think it's good.
I think they're both very good.
Yeah.
Kiri's perks in general. I think if you're looking at like the best perks in the game,
yeah,
it's maybe Kiri.
Actually,
Kiri,
you know what?
like,
let's final topic this for perks, and then we'll actually move on.
All right, fair enough.
What has happened? Is it a flaw with the perk system, or is it a flaw with the the actual like legitimate characters, that the good characters got all the good perks and so many of the lesser characters got worse perks? Do you think they were afraid to give bad characters better perks overall to like not break them? Like, or do you think that they want to make bad characters better on a hero level so then their perks don't break when they buff them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. To me, a lot of what that like read as was, we have, all right, you know, people are a little sick of Overwatch. We need this big shake. Okay, perks. Oh, you're a genius. You get a raise. All right, what the hell are we gonna do for all these perks? Okay, well, we have this big pile for all the shitty characters that people don't really like, of like attempted reworks that weren't quite good enough to go into the game, but like I can toss this shit on a perk and call it a day. To me, that's kind of what it felt like, where it's like some of these are like, I thought we were talking about putting this base kit, and now it's a perk, and then Sojourn just hit me with a nuclear bomb. like,
and then show me what Moira's doing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Moira, you're gone an extra half second. Where'd you go?
No, actively worse for her, I think.
Yeah, some of the I don't know if they were scared to go overboard. I think a lot of the weaker characters tend to be unpopular to play against, which I think, like, worst case scenario, you do this big shakeup season, you bring everyone back, and you turbo buffed Hog and Sombra. Like, that is worst case scenario. No one wants to go against that. The game feels terrible. Like, I think also, God, oh my, Sombra, what'd they do?
They're pretty bad. Oh my god,
What'd they do?
her hack
I
one.
literally, I
Was
was
it
reading a
Stack
thread,
Overflow?
and I
Mm-mm.
agree with their conclusion that I think you just do not pick a major perk. I think she
What's
is
the other
better
major
without
perk?
a major perk.
What's the other one that's not the hack duration one? What is the other one?
It's White Hat, where you can hack your team and heal them,
It's
but
not
it
good.
puts your hack on cooldown.
You're
It
right.
makes it harder to hit the enemies you need to, because it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm hacking my tank in the middle of the fight.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like 100 health over 2 seconds.
It's not anything. Does it get
It's
over
like,
health at
this
all?
is awful.
Does it
It's
get
like, there's like, it's the same cast time, so it's like, it's essentially like a 2.5 for like 2.5 seconds to gain 100 health. And it's like, I can't do this in the middle of the fight because it's interruptible too. So it's like, if I try to hack my
right.
teammate in the middle of the fight and then I'm interrupted, now my hack's on cooldown, no one's getting healing, I didn't hack in it. It's like, actively, it's just bad. It's just bad. I
Yeah.
know they didn't want to go too overboard with some of the more annoying characters, but man, they did Sombra dirty.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think they're gonna have to keep a really close eye. I think there's also like something to say about like when things really shake up, you do want to fall back on very like reliable characters. Your
I think that's true.
tracers, your
I think
tracers,
people
your
have been
sojourns.
surprised with how good Symmetra and Torb have been.
I think
Like
Sim
Sim
has
and Torb,
like
I think, are both very strong with the
mhm.
perks, and I think it took people a second to realize that.
I think Sim has like probably like top 5 sets of perks. In the
Sim's perks
game.
are very solid. Very
They're
solid.
incredible, and like
Especially like I've always been of the opinion that at a high level, I think Sim like teleport is a broken ability, and like
it's just
the
incredibly
extra
hard
what
to
did she
use.
get like 50% distance or something?
It's
Like
it is insane. It's insane. It's 50.
let me
It is-
double check that number.
No,
I'm pretty sure it's 50.
I put advanced teleportation in my best perks video because I was like,
Where it's like
50
you
is
can
crazy.
wait, can you cross like all of circuit with that? Like
like
you
in
are
theory,
sending your so far. Like I think like played perfectly, Sim has like one of the most interesting kits in the game.
yeah.
It's just so hard to hit anywhere near that level of coordination.
I'm learning a little bit of Sim, just a little bit. I've been after the perks.
Yeah, go ahead and stay on my ranked games, buddy.
No. Listen, guys, we all play characters with shields, and we all stand by the TP, so we all get our shields back. I promise, it's great. But yeah, no, I think there's like most characters like that are very versatile, easy, like we understand. Your Lucio.
Yeah, I think the strongest
you know.
characters tend to be the ones that are the best in every situation.
Mhm.
So it's like when the meta shakes up, they're probably still good.
Especially when you have a bunch of like really good perks that you can choose between, right? They're all good, so you actually get to make the active choice. So not only do they have that baseline versatility, they also have that baseline like, you know, counterability, adaptability on the perks as well, where I think a lot of the characters don't really have that. And honestly, a couple of characters that should be good, like Echo, don't have as strong of a perk set as some of the other ones. And like I haven't seen Echo at all, even though I think she has one of the best major perks with her sticky bombs one. But like it's like kind of her only really good perk. Like her minors are good enough, I think. But like her really transformative one, like the other one where you just get like Echo Beam, or you get your flight back after you get a beam kill, it's like, sure. You know what I mean? As compared to like Sojourn, who's just completely just got so much.
I wonder how they're going to prioritize sort of balance versus fun. Like if you have a character like Echo that's like, say she's really strong, right? She's got like, you know, some 57% win rate or something. Like you're seeing her every game, and like her perks are kind of bad right now. It's like,
yeah,
you're probably not gonna look to give her a strong perk, or if you do, you know, like her perks are boring. So it's like, okay, I want to give her something different. But if she's really good, how do I balance? Like now I have to do a base kit nerf if I want to give her good perks.
Right.
It's like, how do you kind of balance the balance of the game versus like making it a fun experience to play a character and pick their perks?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, do you change base kit and perks at the same time? Do you just try to do one at a time and see it go from there? If you are not aggressive enough, is it going to just like, you know, be too little too late at some point, right? Like that's
Sombra.
Is so present. I wonder who the worst character is right now. I say I wonder. It's Mercy. It's got to be Mercy.
I think the other thing is like the way you. Sorry, we've droned on this so much longer than
That's
we meant
fine.
to now, but
We're almost done here.
the
I'm
way you
sure.
play Mercy, you get no perk charge. Like your perk charge is like
Mm,
0. Even I play a very altruistic Mercy to where like I don't like doing a super pocket. Like I like, healing up whoever needs it and you're kind of sticking with them. Your perk charge is low. I don't know if it's
does she get perk or ult charge
I
from
don't think she gets
damage?
perk charge for damage boost.
She used to, right? I think in her like first iteration she did, like all the way back at launch. But
Oh, like get alt charge?
yeah, I don't think she does. I'm not
I don't
sure.
think she
Mercy
does.
play. We don't play Mercy, so like Mercy players, let us know. But maybe we just
Well, the
suck.
thing is, I feel like her alt charge is pretty quick, even if you're not doing a ton of
It
healing.
is, yeah. Valk
But
is,
the
yeah,
perks feel slow. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's has to do with how they're calculating it, or because there's no, maybe Mercy has a low alt cost, and
Mm-hmm.
like the passive ticking really does a lot of the work on her. I don't know exactly what it is, but her perks are not good and they feel slow.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead. I think that's good. That's almost an hour there on perks. So we'll get through to the next section. This one is about you, Sir Tom himself. I guess just to start us out, what's your Overwatch story? When did you start playing? What about it do you really like? How do you interact with it nowadays?
Man, I think my Overwatch story starts before Overwatch
Oh,
because we're getting a little deep background here.
uh huh.
I think I always knew I wanted a game like Overwatch because growing up, like number one, once I started on like Xbox 360. I played a little bit of Halo on there, but none of my friends there were as big into Halo. And then we moved to PlayStation, and it was all Call of Duty, right? We were playing so much Call of Duty, and I put together a clan, and I was doing like clan wars, and I was like, yeah, this is so sick. We got a clan, and like we'll have one person that's the sniper, and we'll have one person that's the shotgun guy. And it's like I always loved the idea of like working as a team in different roles. There just never was a game for that. Especially, I think if I had been on PC, I might have gravitated towards TF2. But like we
Mm-hmm.
had Orange Box on Xbox 360, and those TF2 servers were just like empty, and I don't really know what was going on. And even I tried to play. I got into TF2 like 2 years ago, and it's like, okay, you can't play on their main server because it's covered in hackers. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
then where do I
yeah.
play? And it's like you have to do so, and I had to like you have to go to a key site to get all like the base kit guns for the game. And it's like it's just way too much going on, and people have a bajillion hours in that game because it's a million years old, and it's like this is I can't catch up.
Right,
I'm out.
right.
I'm out. But yeah, so I think I always knew I loved the teamwork in games. And I think Overwatch felt like the first game that like really took it to the next level. I started my brother was big into it. He played in like the beta, and we played a lot of games together, and we still do. But like we played like Destiny together at a time, and we really liked like the teamwork aspect of raids, and doing stuff like that. And then he was like, okay, like maybe you should come try out Overwatch, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give this one a shot. So I think I joined right season 2 of Overwatch 1. I remember someone told me that it was the Beyblade meta, and I didn't know what that meant. But I heard that Ana was good, so I was locking the console Ana.
Yeah.
Was it good? Almost certainly not. Almost
Mm.
certainly not.
Ah,
But
the auto aim does
we
enough.
were in there. But yeah, I think I played it on and off for a little bit, but then I started to get a really good friend group that I still play with today. That's my brother and some of his friends, and we were like 4, 5, 6 stacking comp in like way back in the day. We had like the Roadhog one trick. I was pretty much a soldier one trick at the time.
Hmm.
We were stomping around in the console Overwatch, and it died off a little bit as people started to go into college, and we lost the group a little bit. Um, and eventually I started moving towards PC gaming, and I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I love the Overwatch on console. Let me try it on PC. Because there's so many characters that I always thought seemed really cool, like Genji, and then you'd play him on console and you couldn't turn around.
You can't do
And
anything.
I was like, let me give this a shot. So then we played. I played on PC for a bit. I was like, this is cool, and I was kind of going back and forth for a while. Um, and then finally, I kind of made the move full time. And when COVID hit, all of a sudden everyone had a lot more time to play games.
Mm.
And we kind of reassembled the old console group again on PC, and we got everyone back and playing again. And that was when I first started getting like really interested in competitive. Um, because we did, I don't know if you've ever heard of Scrub Cup, but they used to run them a bunch in Overwatch 1. I don't think they've run them since, but it was essentially anyone under diamond could join, and then you'd randomize the teams, and then each team would get a diamond or higher mentor. So like this, someone high up would come, and then we'd have practices and scrims, and they would coach the team. And I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. I loved playing as a team. I had a great coach. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is amazing. Like I really love playing this game. And then I kind of found out about the esports at UGA and started getting more involved in that. Joined the teams there. And like, yeah, I loved Overwatch. We fizzled out a little bit near the end of Overwatch 1. The content was
It was
hey,
tough.
we gave
It
that
was
game like
tough.
2 good years for no content back. So I don't feel ashamed about that, but we were grinding. I mean, Lane and I were coordinators there on a bunch of teams together. Um, then after I graduated, I had a little less time, but I still think I've been on like 2 teams since then. Still playing competitive. I like to I'd like to scrim if I could. But it's yeah, people are just more busy now and stuff, and
Yeah.
um, I don't know if I have the drive I once had. So I think I was kind of petering out the last few seasons, but honestly, this season I've really been enjoying the perks. I feel like it's kind of renewed my joy in the game, and honestly, everything they announced, the Spotlight, Stadium coming out seems really cool. And all the new stuff they announced, I feel like the game is trending up, going in the right direction, and I feel very confident that like they have a good vision for the game. Um, and like I'm excited to play more. I feel like there's so much more to learn now with all the new perks,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna switch them up and keep them fresh. And like I'm excited to keep playing.
That's good. I think you talked about competitive, how a lot of it was just you like the strategy, the grouping up, all that. Do you typically enjoy? And I guess Let's talk Overwatch 2 in particular. Do you like playing Overwatch 2 as like a scrim or as like a really try hard, or do you kind of like the more ladder style? Like which one do you typically prefer? Do you see yourself putting more time into, like, if you had unlimited time and whatever, which one would you kind of want to do more?
I think it's I think it's almost like you got to do all one or the other for me. Because when I'm on a team and like you're playing scrims, like man, there's sometimes you come away from the scrim and you're like that was the worst 2 hours of my life, and I knew it was gonna suck 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
But then you go try and play ranked, and you're like, I haven't heard a comm in 4 games. My tank just went and died on like some random flank. My DPS keep hard locking, Junkrat on Junkertown or something, and it's like it's really hard, I think, to maintain the comp. Like, can't take this too serious, only so much I can control, and like I need to perfect everything. I'm trying to hit my maximum potential of a scrim environment.
Mm-hmm.
I think now, like, I would enjoy playing in a scrim just to kind of, sharpen myself and keep it up. I like taking comp serious, especially when we're in a bigger stack and like calming
Right.
and stuff. But I do appreciate the goofy nature of the game on occasion. And I think I have tried to. make a point to not take the game as serious as I used to, because I think that sucked a lot of joy out of the game for me. And I think being able to step back and take it a little slower and realize like I am in fact trying to have fun when I play this game.
Right. I mean,
I think that's a realization some players need to make, and I think it's hard to be in that like really hard grind set all the time.
yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm a bit of like a try hard serious Andy when it comes to
Oh, you?
everything. But the thing about it is that like to me a lot of the fun is in that like trying hard and thinking and strategizing. And when it doesn't go the way that it's planned, that is when it feels really frustrating and can feel like not as fun. So I agree there is some bit of it like you do have to find a little bit of like fun outside of that or else you're gonna kind of go crazy because you're not gonna be able to get it all the time. Even like in your ranked or like your 5 stacks or whatever. And there were actually some times I remember on this last team that we were on a couple years back. This was pre season 9, so this was like summer
This was
23.
a while ago, yeah.
Yeah. And I was the tank player, and basically for months I was playing Ramatra and Winston only. And I cannot tell you how much better it got when I was allowed to play the horse. And even those like 2 or 3 times where like we were, last game of the block, and it's like just put me on Ryan. It's a character I don't even
Yeah.
like very much. Those were the most fun games I think I had. Like, I enjoyed my time where I was like, well, I don't think I'm very good at this character, and then like shattering 5 and then going, oh my god, like having that. And actually, like our other friend Matt, he kind of says it the best, where it's like when you play something new, you do something differently, you find like the fun in learning again. It's not all about like min maxing. It's about like actually like really improving at like drastic rates and like learning skills, and that's always fun. Um, and you don't get that as much on ladder, although the stakes are lower, so in theory you could, I guess. But I want to ask you, what makes a good teammate? And make sure I fish for compliments. That I'm not supposed to say that part out loud.
Well, it's just when I think of good teammates, my mind just immediately goes to Lane. It's like, what more could you,
Oh,
what more could you ask for? I think the best teammates, I think, are people that are able to keep their cool, but are also able to like have that drive that like they really want to win.
hmm.
But you can't let that drive make you like be like a pissy person, like you, because I think people underrate like team morale is so important.
Especially
And
yeah,
like,
especially in scrims.
yeah, like having, yeah, when you know you're about to hang out with these people for the next 2 hours
In a
and
block that
game
you're
one
not
goes
winning.
bad and the comms are silent and it's like, what map do you guys want to play? And then it's like you don't get a response and it's like, oh brother, get me out. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta have someone that's able to be like, hey, like no worries, like we crack a joke, like they're still going hard, but they're able to bring that levity. I think is really really important, and I think, dare I say, like required to have. You have to have one of those on the team, or I think your team just like it just flames out. Like
Yeah.
you have to have someone that's able to ground the team and make sure that everyone is doing okay. I think it also helps. I think things to avoid as a teammate is like knowing when to stick to your role, knowing when like yes your Ana player knows that they missed the nade or they missed the sleep, like
Hmm.
they don't need a reminder, or like making sure that you're uplifting your teammates, or not not being like, well, I don't know guys, like I got to that fight, I'm not really sure how we're losing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we'll say that in ranked, but that's like we're talking trash to each other, and we're blaming our teammates because it's way easier than taking accountability.
Yeah.
But like when you're when you're in a closed environment, like that stuff just like it breeds toxicity and makes people not want to play, and they're like, fine, well if you think I'm not doing well, then like let's see how you like this. And it's like
Yeah.
you gotta be able to lift your teammates up and keep it positive and make sure everyone's able to work towards the same goal together.
Having someone on your team to like like somebody just be like, if something happens, oh, like somebody starts beating themselves up, or they say something a little snarky to somebody, just having someone to be like, doesn't matter, next fight, what's next, what do they have, what are we doing, right? I think that's like really really important. I think a lot of people underrate the comm structure, because I think a lot of people think it's just down to people who are, they say what they're doing or they call stuff, but mental is so important, especially for, a up and coming, like potentially struggling team, right? Like if you're just like, like us, we're like Diamond Masters team, depending on whatever time of Overwatch we were playing. We're not perfect. We're gonna make a lot of mistakes still. Like we're just in general a little better than most people, but we definitely don't have everything down. I know for a fact that I've let my ego get in the way in the past. When you and I were on UGA together, I think it was our only semester on UGA as like teammates. I was a bit of a pissy motherfucker on that team. Mainly because I had been playing on the A team for a couple of semesters at that point. And it was one of our lower rosters that I played on, and we were not meshing as well as we could have. And that's just not something you should have. Like you kind of have to like take a step back. And if you're really not having fun on a team, you should not be on it. Like if you're gonna be like consistently dragging the mood down and kind of like getting in the way of everybody, you kind of should take a step back and just be like, maybe this isn't for me. This isn't my environment. I can come back later if I feel like I've gotten there.
Yeah, scrims can be really really taxing. You gotta be able to. You need to be enjoying the scrims if you want to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just forcing yourself to play them, like all of a sudden that 2 hours feels like forever, and it's like, ugh, I have a scrim tonight. And I think the hard thing is like, as a team, if you're pushing yourselves to improve, you're always going to be in these tough spots. Like you're always going to be against a team that's going to push you to play your best, and they're going to punish your mistakes. And if you get better, they're going to punish something different because they're going to be against better teams. And like I think you have to be able to step back and realize like, wow, like I've made a lot of progress, there's still more to go, but like you can't get down on yourself, because I think sometimes it feels like, okay, I've done 200 scrims, like surely I should be better, in this current one I'm in. But it's like, every scrim is different, and in theory, you should be getting into more and more and more and difficult scrims, to where it's like, it's going to be harder than last time, and there is
Mm-hmm.
still learning to do, and you got to be able to keep your head cool and be able to play and enjoy the game.
I mean, yeah, like Proper still loses scrim blocks. You know what I mean? Like
No, not
it
my goat, not my
yeah.
goat.
Do not look what's going on, or he's on Falcons, but do not check what's going on in Korea right now in OWCS. It's not looking pretty. But yeah, like obviously everyone has bad days, but it's also like sometimes like even the best players they get lost. They don't know what's going on. Like they'll get rolled in a game or a block, and they just like I like couldn't even tell you, right? Like it could just be the day. And actually, funnily enough, I think the a lot of times like game day environments, people kind of like understand that the amount that you're stuck there is finite. So if it starts going poorly, more often than not, people just kind of like are like, well, we'll try something here, or we'll continue our best. But if things go bad, like you're not in the best of spirits, but it's like, yeah, well, it's kind of whatever. It's game day, but in scrims, it does feel like it's like, okay, well, we're here for 5 more maps and an hour and 45 minutes. So yeah, it can be, again, like mental is very important. Having a teammate, a team structure that what's it called, supports that is great. You can't just make, and then like I always, like as a coordinator for UGA, right, I always did take into consideration attitude and like comms and everything, because you don't want to have 5 ego players on one team, because then they just devour themselves, right? So it is a tough balance in that regard. So yeah, that's great. I think that's good for like, competitive stuff. Is there anything you want to say about like, anything else in that environment? We haven't really been in it for a while, tbh.
Yeah, I've been slacking. Um, yeah, I competed a bit in Overwatch 2, and it was a fun time. I think it's difficult because as you go up, it's much harder to find casual teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's difficult to find like a Masters team that's like, yeah, we're gonna scrim once a week, and yeah, we'll play in a tournament every once in a
Yeah, we were
while.
scrimming
Like
like
once,
any day we could on that team,
yeah,
right?
once you get up high, they're like, yeah, we'll do like minimum 3 days a week, and I'm like, that is, if you work and you got a job and you got other responsibilities, it's a
I got
lot
a
of time. In college,
401k,
I was like,
man.
fuck it, like, yeah, I don't care. But yeah, now it's a bit more difficult to find. I'd love to play. I think on a team that was looking to scrim like once a week, pretty
Yeah.
casually, and play in a tournament. I think it's just harder to find. Um, my dream is once we got everyone out of college, we'll assemble the dream team. But
Yeah, I think that casual air quotes is the best way to put it, because if you try to go in like as a casual scrim team, it will never work out that way.
yeah,
Why? I've been on like 2 or 3 of them in my
yeah,
time, and they always disintegrate because there's different understandings, like levels of people.
different levels. The
Yeah.
casual.
So it's kind of like we're not like competing, like our lives depend on it, but like we are trying to play the game, right? You know what I mean? Like I think that's, at least for me, that's like an environment that I would be okay with. All right, so out of there, let's talk about just general Overwatch. I don't know if I've ever like asked you this or like kind of know this answer. Who is your favorite hero in the game, and why? Obviously,
Like favorite to play or like favorite lore
I
wise?
mean you can give me anything.
Oh man.
I know your favorite lore one though. I do
Oh
know
yeah.
that one. Yeah, I think I do.
Man, that is a complicated question. I've bounced around a lot because I was a tank player in Overwatch 1 and then Overwatch 2 transitioned to support.
Mm-hmm.
So I
We're the
think like
opposite.
yeah,
We took
being
each
from that
other's.
point of view kind of changes. Well, and then when I play with a certain group of friends, I mainly play DPS.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like yeah, I get a pretty wide range. I think I like non-traditional kits quite a bit. I know Sombra and Mei are kind of my favorite in the DPS category. I really like I think Mei's ability to just like change how the game is played in a really unique way. But also I love doing cool things like walling up to a high ground or like using wall in an interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think moments like that I like characters that make me feel smarter than I am. Like when I pull off a good Maywall or like I Maywall an ult in an interesting way, it gives me that like, oh yeah, I'm a genius, and like that's what I really enjoy, which I think is the same thing with Sombra. Or it's like you're camping, you know the Reaper ult's coming in, or something is coming in, and you're kind of hiding off in the wings, and you're able to catch it just in time. It makes you feel very very smart. I mean, I think that's kind of Sombra's hero fantasy is like you're like
Right.
yeah, I'm the big brain hacker, and you get your play of the game where it shows someone else, and then you're hacking in, and it's like
Oh, dude.
nothing's better than
They
that.
actually have never made a better highlight intro. They never
That
will.
highlight, dude, they released some banger Sombra highlight intros, but I just can't take that
You
off. I just
can't.
like
You can.
it's just so good. Like, how are you ever gonna top that?
Yeah.
It's just so fitting. And yeah, I also I've been playing Open Queue recently, and it made me remember how much I loved Zarya in Overwatch One. Like
Mm-hmm.
bubbling a teammate, it just feels right. It just feels right, and I love doing it, and it makes me feel good because I like protecting my team. It's like playing tank and support at the same time. It's like I've healed them instantly for 200 health.
But now
Like
you
I
can
think
with the
it's
perks.
yeah. Like I think she's a lot of fun. Diva, I think, is more an abusive relationship. I had to play that so much in scrims during Overwatch One that
Yeah, she was kind of like,
I've
if you
finally had to like
unless you're playing Orisa,
unlearn
you are
my
playing a diva in your comp. Like
yeah
there's
my negative association with
like
that.
there were like very few points, like I don't know, Lijiang Control Center, you could play Sigma as the off tank,
Yeah,
but like
it's just like,
otherwise
hey, what am I playing here? Yeah, it's
diva.
Diva. Go ahead and click on Diva, buddy.
I mean I had to play Baptiste for like every game
Yeah,
ever,
yeah.
so
That's why I really like. I think Ana does a lot of those big brain moments too, where you hit the nice sleep, or you hit a cool angle on the nade or something. Especially with the bouncy nade now, I think that's just kind of increasing. Like you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I bounced it off the building. I might be the smartest man in the universe. I think surprisingly, BAP actually does that a fair amount for me too. I love shooting walls instead of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if someone's arcing in the air and you're shooting the wall behind them, healing you. Like it's the same way with like Sigma, like bouncing his primary fire. I think is they're just really interesting mechanics, and they kind of make your brain work mid combat, which in an
Yeah.
interesting way,
I
which
think
I
BAP has like one of if not my favorite like moment to moment flows of a character. There's so much you're doing, but you're always like consistently moving and thinking and like interacting with the environment is my favorite like aspect of a lot of Overwatch. And like that's kind of like I really love Hazard because he does that. In theory, like there's a lot of characters that like can interact with it. I've been starting to pick up Wrecking Ball more. I have been playing him for like a while, trying to just get more and better and better. But he's another one that's like you're always thinking about like where you are and like what's around you. Um, so those are like my favorite types of like of things in Overwatch.
yeah. Listen, Wrecking Ball and Tracer especially. Tracer is it's almost too far because like my brain can't do this and also be an Overwatch player because I'm like thinking about my blinkings and aiming and everything. It's like I cannot speak while I'm playing Tracer because
Yeah,
all of the mental capacity is completely used up. Like there is zero room left for communication.
yeah. On top of just crazy mechanics as well.
Yeah, that's just brain overload. So I like Ana, I get to my smart moments, but I'm also hanging out in the back.
Yeah. All right. Worst hero design in Overwatch.
Oh, worst hero
Which one?
design.
Which one do
Oh, it's gotta be Widow. It's gotta
you
be
think?
Widow.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't, yeah, I don't hate her kit or anything. It's just you can go grappling hook to a different game, man. Like
Yeah.
I never think it's more fun with her on the battlefield. I just don't. I don't find it an interesting loop at all. I totally understand why people like playing her. Every once in a while, I'll whip out the luck factor Widowmaker and I'll
Mhm.
hit 3 shots and I'll feel king of the world. But
It's time to add the Marvel Rivals Hanzo mechanic. Let her charge up to 50, but she to get the rest, she's got to be looking at somebody.
yeah, it's yeah. I really, ironically, I really enjoy the Widowmaker 1v1. I
That's
think it's a
crazy.
very like not a literal 1v1, but when you're on a team and I'm playing Widow against the Widow, I find it very interesting because to me it feels weirdly like a tank matchup. Like it's very positioning based. It's very move counter move. It's very doing
Chess.
unpredictable
Yeah.
things, and I really enjoy that. I just wish it didn't happen in my games at all.
I really enjoy
It's
it. I just wish I never had to do it again. Like,
yeah, like okay, but the other thing is like I'm not great at it.
yeah,
So it's like, oh, this is fun. It's like, okay, but my team can't go anywhere because I keep losing the
yeah.
stupid
You
one
gotta
v one.
if we gotta pretend like they say like just having a widow is value. You don't have to be
Yeah,
that good. It's like
literally that
yeah,
is me.
sure.
I'm my skill in the Widow 1v1 compared to like if they were just like screw it, I'm not gonna 1v1 him. I'm gonna go play any other hero. It's like I am now worthless. I will not hit a single other shot. I can hit Widow because she's literally standing still, and I prediction where she's gonna peek at me. As soon as I have to hit a moving target with a headshot, it's over.
Yeah, it's
I will
cooked.
be obtaining no value.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for hero bans. I don't think
Oh yeah.
we really need to talk about that in its entirety. I like the system where it's just like, what do you want to play against or play with, and like that's all it's based off of, right? Like whenever we queue up, I just know like we're both like Widow number one, Mercy number two, like one for them, one for me, and then the third can be whatever map dependent, I suppose. But
Yeah.
that is going to help a lot. I'm excited for that. Speaking of the other game with hero bans, I want to talk about Marvel Rivals just real quick. It's been about what has it been, like a month and a 2.5 months, right, since it launched early December. Going on 3 months here. Where you stand on it now? I know I don't think you were the super biggest fan of it immediately. Not to say you weren't playing it or liked it, but I think you weren't playing it nearly as much as I think a lot of us were at the start. Where are you at now? Like, what are your kind of like general feelings about it? How has it aged in this very short time?
Oh, rivals. I think I have trouble thinking of it as a competitive game.
Right.
I find it very fun when I want to play like super goofy mode and not take it super seriously, but there is too many aspects that become frustrating if I wanted to treat the game as like a high level competitive experience. Like
Mm-hmm.
the healer ults that just charge so fast, and you have to deal with all of them, and it's like the insta kill combos with like the I haven't even really played with like the storm and the human torch, but it's like
I don't
holy
even
the
want to
entire
know.
map just explodes, and it's like there's too many aspects I find frustrating that I know if I got into my head that like I really wanted to grind this game competitively, I think it would just frustrate me to the end of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's fun. I love that Overwatch has competition. I think it's
Right.
really good. I think it's doing a fantastic job at like trying things out and iterating on the formula. Like I would we have gotten hero bans ever? I don't know. It seems like
No,
they would have
actually,
sat on their
no.
hands forever
They
until
they
but like
said that
Marvel Rivals
Marvel
came out
Rivals,
and
yeah,
people likes it.
yeah,
And now we're getting hero bans. And like I think it is great for both games that both games exist. I I like that they have a faster hero release schedule, even if the heroes have a bit of overlap. I think it's interesting to get new things into my hands and try the new stuff out. And it's like a little more, uh, it's a little more quantity over quality, where it's like not everything has to be super polished. There can be a little jank. There's some room for that. Like people are more accepting of of the jank in
mm-hmm.
Rivals, I think, versus like Overwatch has always had a really good focus on everything should feel just right, and the sound design is amazing, and the characters have to have this personality and has to connect to the story even though we'll never hear about it. It's like
Rip in peace.
I think it's nice to have the two different views. Honestly, I think the Thing and the Human Torch both kind of flopped for me. Not a big fan of either. Um, but I think it's great that we have competition, and I hope it pushes them both to be better in the future.
Yeah, I definitely have like I think like I made a video the Rivals like a month later. Like here are my basically I guess first impressions. But really, since I made that video, I've not played it like much at all. I don't think I've played it within the last month. Like I've already kind of hard stopped. Um, I think a lot of this is because personally I find you talk about the sound design and all of that feels really good. Building your multiplayer shooter in Unreal Engine 5 uh, and not optimizing it very well makes the game feel
God,
pretty fucking
it does
bad.
run
I
terribly.
mean, not even just optimization. I think there's a lot of like really weird server based issues about like how other characters are like the data is sent to you, how smooth they are on your screen. Overwatch, you never see anybody. You never like you never see anybody rubber banding, right? Everything you see is somebody just like walks into a wall and like and not even like phases out, but it's like it's all smooth on your end. In Rivals, if there's an issue anywhere, it's all jittery and it's all the time because people are having FPS drops and they're having connection issues because it's fucking Unreal Engine 5. Um, so it's really difficult to really want to sit down and like spend hundreds of hours with a game where the game it feels like I'm fighting the game instead
Yeah.
of like playing it and like trying to learn it. Um, so I mean that's just me. Obviously most people who are enjoying Rivals don't give a shit which is fine. I mean, like the game, it's semantic at the end of the day, but like, we talked about it earlier. I like getting into the weeds. I like really diving in, and if I feel like that experience like is, there's fucking weeds in the water, I can't, man. I can't swim.
You'd say you like your games overdeveloped.
Oh, oh, I can't have you on ever again.
I think one last point on Rivals.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was I was just playing some quick play with my friends the other day. Or actually no, it wasn't even that. The thing in the Human Torch came out and I was like, you know what? Like I got 40 minutes to kill. Let me go log in a match on each. And I went in and I picked the Human Torch and then I got 5 other DPS. And I was like,
Yeah.
I just I don't know, like there's no one right way to play the game. You can win with any comp, blah 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 blah. I wasted 20 minutes. Like
Yeah.
that was a waste of my time. Like that I didn't have any fun. I didn't get to test the hero because it's like I don't have any health. Like this isn't how the hero plays.
Right,
This
right.
is a result of the comp and it's like people can argue about the swap from open queue to roll queue, but I think people appreciate the consistency of experience that you get from Overwatch, whereas Rivals, especially without a group, is just a little more all over the place.
It
And
is.
sometimes I'm okay with like we're goofing around, and I'm fine with whatever game. I'll go Spider-Man and contribute 0.
Yeah.
But it's like if I know I have like an hour and I want to play a game where like I want to compete and I want to work with the team, like that just isn't really what Rivals is to me. Like it feels much more arcadey. It feels less serious, and like it's very inconsistent in the level of experience it provides, in my experience.
I agree. And like that's always the thing about people say higher highs, lower lows, whatever. Um I just don't find the highs as compelling, and the lows just hit me like a train. Like, they're just like, "Oh man, I'm really trucking through this one." Like I feel like I was just playing to play because like the battle pass grind was kind of crazy. Like like just trying to get these coins, man. They really want you playing every day to really finish a battle pass. I'm like, dude, I'm like not even on the third one yet, and I feel like I've been playing for like 3 weeks. And yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot about it. I think I'm done with it. Like honestly, like I've had no desire.
My opinion is always like I play games to play with friends. And I think if everyone I played with decided I'm only gonna play Marvel Rivals from here on out, then I would start playing Marvel Rivals.
Mm-hmm.
But like it seems like everyone's still pretty happy with Overwatch, especially after this season, and like I'm more than happy to stay here. Then I think like
Yeah,
I'll play a little bit of Rivals every once in a while, but yeah, I don't have a big hankering for it. I'll check out the new heroes and such, and I hope it does well. I think it's a fun experience. I think it's a unique experience, and I think it's pushing Overwatch to be better. So
yeah,
I'm all for it.
I agree. So long as they stop firing developers for their massively successful game. All right. Anyways, let's go to the final section here, which I'll try and speed it up a little bit. This is not the one where we're really gonna dive into super conversation. Anyways, here you can't see it, which is very funny. I need to fix that for next time we do this. I have a wheel here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, your hand's not on
Wait,
screen right now,
wait.
but you're close.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I have the wheel here. Typically, if you were in person, you would spin this wheel. I have to spin it for you. It basically just, it's whatever question I'm going to ask you about general gaming stuff. What you think? I'm going to give you your first spin here. You can hear it.
Like some ASMR, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Looks like we've gotten E, which I think we might have actually done with Langston.
E.
We did, yeah. So we to hear a different response this time. What's a game? And I know you play a lot for your friends, but like, what is a game that you find to be criminally underrated or overlooked?
Oh man, underrated or overlooked? That's tough. Cause can I be honest?
I know you're not much of a.
I'm a crowd follower for the most of the part when it comes to video games. Like I'm more than happy to let other people discover the new hotness, and if it's actually good, it'll make it back to me.
Uh,
Underrated or overlooked?
it can be anything like a game you feel like is not talked about enough, or like one you played when you were younger or something. Doesn't have to be as in those boundaries. Just get the juices flowing.
I feel like, man, there's a lot of good video games.
Wow, profound.
Hot take. I know, on hot take. Gosh. Underrated or overlooked. You know what? This might be a weird response to it because obviously Halo is very popular and successful, but specifically Halo Reach because I don't know if this is a universal opinion. Okay, so I have two older brothers, right? So
Okay.
a lot of whatever I was playing was whatever Big Bro wanted to buy, and I got to play for the 30 minutes I got to steal it away from him. And my brothers were big Halo fans. They forced me to use the other controller while they were playing through Legendary and running off and dying, and I got to go every like 1 out of 5 times they died or whatever. And when Halo Reach came out, it was like the most old man curmudgeon-y response because they added armor powers. So they added like armor lock and bubble and sprint, and they were like, you are ruining the game. Like the purity of the game is gone,
Are
and
you
it
talking
will
about
never be the
multiplayer
same.
here? Are you talking about
Yeah.
multiplayer? Ah, I see.
So I don't know if that I don't know if that was the general response, but specifically in my family, it was also the first Halo game I played a lot of, so I'm sure I'm quite biased on it. But I loved Halo Reach. You know what? Same shout out. Call of Duty Ghosts. People hated
Oh,
it, but now it's seen as an underrated gem. All right, I loved Ghosts. I think Ghosts is the beginning of modern COD, and people slept on it so hard, and I think it's fantastic. And
wow.
Advanced Warfare. Don't even get me started on Advanced Warfare. Way ahead of its time. All right, if that came out today, that's like Unreal Tournament. All right, coming out, and the people couldn't handle it, but it was a goated game.
Wow. Actually, Advanced Warfare was my first COD. It's the one I got when I got my PlayStation.
Wow.
It technically wasn't. I played the big red one on the GameCube because my dad had it. And then he banned me from playing it after a while because he was like, "I should not be letting you play this." But when I got my PlayStation, I got Advanced Warfare, and I remember I didn't care about multiplayer as much back then, and I also didn't have PS Plus right away, so
Yeah.
I played the campaign. So I got to experience like the Kevin Spacey. That. I mean, I don't know. Even as like baby's first COD, like literally my very first COD, I wasn't even like over the moon about it. It was fun. It was like new to me, but like I wasn't. I don't know. I also don't play COD. Like I've only ever played like Black Ops 3 and the new Modern Warfare. So like I'm not the authority here. That's I don't know.
COD was my life before Overwatch. It was my by far my number one game. I played a
Divorce
lot
leads
of
you down
COD,
terrible paths or whatever.
and I think people were scared of change. I don't know if that was just like a early 2010s thing that people were scared to see these popular franchises like innovate, but I was all for it, man. I was like, if you want the same game, it came out the past 6 years. Go play one of those. Like, I think it's interesting to see new takes on like, the core is still there, and I think it's interesting to see these additions to it. So I think I feel the exact same way about perks. So
Yeah,
I've been consistent for a good 10 years
I
now.
suppose COD is also very like it's very normy. So like Joe Schmo who just buys one game a year and it's the new COD every year
Yeah.
probably doesn't want to play something new. They don't care. They just want to play the same thing in the new coat of paint. And so when it's actually new, they're like, "What the hell happened?" You know what I mean? So I do see where you're coming there. All right, let me see.
Okay,
What
wait, I'm
else
gonna
we-
sneak in one more.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic. I wouldn't consider it underrated because it has like a massive cult following,
Yeah.
but it's been in like, have you played it?
No, I would not consider it underrated either.
Okay, I think people know it's a fantastic game, but I would say it's been in like development hell for this remake.
Oh,
for,
you're
like,
right. Yeah.
forever.
Because is BioWare developing the remake?
Please.
I don't
They
think
like
they
I
are.
think they like fired the team that was making it and they were like, "Don't worry guys, it's still coming." And everyone was like, "Wait, how?
Yeah.
Who's making it?" And they were like,
Yeah. We'll never tell.
"Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that."
Yeah. No,
But
Kotar
one of my
is-
favorite games. One of
Yeah.
my favorite games.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little before I'm not a very big like RPG.
We
or
had
anything.
the OG discs. We had
Damn.
the second game came in a 4 CD set. And because the last 3 CDs were all data, but we lost the first one, which was the one that could play the game.
Oh. Wow.
So every once in a while I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I should go play this game," and then I'd open it up and I'd be like, "Well."
Yeah. Hey,
Oh,
I'll
but
give
yeah,
you my
amazing games.
My fucking Lego Star Wars Complete Saga just broke when I was younger.
No!
It didn't play anymore. Okay. Anyways, let's go next one.
Oh, that is you should just make ASMR vids.
Yeah, I guess I should if it's that much of a big thing. All right. Well, hopefully this doesn't have as much overlap. This one is literally just, what was your favorite game growing up?
My favorite game growing up.
And we'll probably
I've
say
said-
like, probably
played a
like
lot of-
pre-high school,
Yeah, played a lot of COD, played a lot of Halo, played a lot of NBA 2K. I think the first game that I really, really fell in love with was the first Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
That big fan of that. I think it was the first game that I like really got into, and I explored and I upgraded my weapon and I did kind of all this stuff. Because before that I was like, I'd play the story and like Call of Duty every once in a while. I was like, whatever. I wasn't big into story games. I think that and the Arkham series.
Yeah.
Those were the first games that I think I like really felt like wow, like they are doing something here. They are telling a story. Like this is I don't know, like this is art. Like this is truly a exciting form of media rather than like, this is basketball but online.
Yeah. It's actually really funny that you've brought up 3 of the 4 games that I got my PlayStation or I got with my PlayStation.
Hey man, they're selling them for a reason. Like they're the launch games for a reason.
I got my PS4 the day Batman Arkham Knight came out. And remember, mind you, I now had like a PS3 or an Xbox 360. I was a Nintendo kid, right? So this is new territory for me. I got Shadow of Mordor, which I really, really wanted. And I got Advanced Warfare and I got Destiny, right? And I love Arkham Knight and I love Shadow of Mordor. Although I did try to go back and play it, and it was a little like, it felt a little like of its time, like it felt a little more like Ubisoft open world than I thought it was going to. But like, still, I love the the Nemesis system, obviously. Fun fact: that team has been disbanded as of yesterday.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah,
they got fired off the Wonder Woman game.
Yep, yeah, and the Wonder Woman game is canned, and it sucks. But yeah, I've actually only ever played Arkham Knight still, but I do really like Arkham
I would
Knight.
highly recommend. Yeah. I actually, ironically enough, I've never beat Arkham Knight. Arkham City is amazing. Though I will say I struggle playing old video games out of order, because if you go play like I was playing through a long time ago, I tried to play through the BioShock games. And I had just played BioShock 2 and I was like, oh, I'll go play BioShock 1, and I was like, I couldn't do it because
BioShock 1's like 2007 or something.
Yeah, like BioShock 2 you have like a gun and then your magic.
Uh-huh.
And in BioShock 1 you could have your gun or your magic.
Yeah.
I was like, we have 2 triggers, guys. What's going on?
Yeah, I do that. I whenever I play like a series, I always make sure to like try to.
I think Arkham Asylum and Arkham City both hold up pretty well. Like the core gameplay is absolutely there, and like I think they're both I would highly recommend both of them, and they're always on the Steam sales.
Oh, I have them. I've had
Yeah,
for
like
years.
I would definitely recommend Arkham City. I think is probably a top 5 game for me. Super good.
Damn, great. That sounds good. All right, last wheel question here. Gonna hit that shit. Let me see. What do we got? We have Jay. God, we did this one last time too. I'm going off
You got
script.
a faulty wheel, man.
I'm going off script, man. Okay, here we go. I got one. What is your biggest pet peeve in game design? So, like, for example, a lot of people get really mad when they see yellow paint. You know, when they're like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh, I know I can break the box, man. You don't have to tell me."
Oh,
Like,
man.
what is like your biggest like pet peeve in that kind of like?
I have posted about this when you posted for pet peeves in
Oh,
your
that's
Discord.
right. I forgot about
Breakable
that.
weapons.
Yeah.
Breakable weapons. I just unless it is a part of like the gameplay loop. Like I don't have any problem with my tools breaking in Minecraft because you're always mining new stuff and you can make like, you know, by the time you're like 2 hours in, you got a million iron, you can make a new pickaxe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm playing like, you know, it was the game. It did the worst for me.
Don't say
Well,
it.
one Breath of the Wild,
Don't
or
say
not,
it.
or the first one. Is that Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild, yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I saw the durability, because then the whole game, I'm like, okay, I'm saving my sword. So then I'm going around, I'm just picking up sticks. And it's like every new enemy I fight, I go pick up a new stick, and I'm like, this is just, this is stupid. And then the Witcher games.
Oh,
where, like,
God, I cannot
your
get through
durability
the
dropped
game.
off like super hard. Where like if your item was at like 50% durability, it did like 50% damage or something. And I was like, I'm using the same sword. Like, why am I just not hitting anything? It's like I don't want to have to constantly go run to some shop and repair my tools and like finding a new item should be exciting and I should want to put it on. I shouldn't be like if you want to have limited durability things, that's fine. Like if or like limited resources, just not anything that I'm using for like your very core loop. I just don't like in Doom there's limited ammo or like you know you get like the BFG where like it like wipes everything and you get like I don't know like one of those per level. I never use them because I'm always saving them, but
Exactly.
like or it's like but like I if I want to use my super shotgun, I want to use my super shotgun. Like you know don't make my super shotgun. Oh, you used it 4 times. It blew up. You have to go find the blacksmith.
I think there is a fine line. In fact, actually, when you say the example of like in Minecraft, you don't care. I find that pisses me off more. There's no like reason. It's just like, well, you only get limited uses, and it doesn't actually change how you play. You seem to be prepared, and you guys gotta go do it again. Like in Zelda, the idea is that you're supposed to be like playing on the fly and using everything at your disposal. In The Witcher, I think it's bad. I actually have attempted to play The Witcher 3 like multiple times, and the beginning game is like. My weapon is breaking. I have no gold to repair it or buy a new one. I'm like, what do I do? Where do I go? I can't attack anything. I think that's when it's like at its worst. But like, if I'm like actively thinking about the weapon management, like the durability management, I don't mind. But if it's yeah,
I think the ammo systems do that well. Like specifically in Doom.
Yeah.
I like using the shotgun the best, and it's like you can't use your shotgun the entire level. So it's like okay, it made me try out new guns and upgrade different guns. Like that's fine as long as I know like at some point down the road I'm gonna pick up more shotgun ammo and I get to use this bad boy again.
Right.
Or it's like I hate the idea of like because I'm just such a hoarder. Like I need everything. I need everything, and it's like I don't like the idea that if I use this I'm gonna lose it. So I'm just never gonna use it.
I'm anti-consumable. It's like
it's just I struggle with that.
No, I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so the final segment I have here is my most favorite. And to be honest with you, I kind of forgot what website I used last time, so we're flying blind. It's on my other computer. I didn't get the link.
Like Zelda.
Yeah, we're flying blind. Unfortunately, Tom's cam is going to freeze when I do this, just because the way I've set this up. I'm gonna have to. That's a good freeze. So basically what this is, I asked you to give me a couple of your favorite games, specifically on Steam, just so we have a higher success rate here. But this is a DEI woke tracker. And now you have to prove to me how woke you are.
How woke I am.
How woke. So basically, you're gonna give me those 5 games, and I'm gonna like get the scale of like how woke they are. We're gonna look at them together. In fact, let me stream it for you here.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. What am I streaming? This. I was like, what am I doing again? But yeah. Okay, here. There you go. Can you see it now?
Is this? Right, this is a banger.
See, the thing about this one is there's only like 1,600, so there's probably not going to be a lot. Unfortunately, they're not the most robust databases because, yeah. So that's why I try to stick with Steam
I simply
games.
must know. Is Batman woke? I simply
Is
must
Bat?
know.
Okay, yeah. So give me Batman Arkham City. You say?
Yeah. Give me Batman.
There's Arkham. Okay,
What's
only
slightly
Arkham.
woke?
Arkham Knight is slightly woke. Contains subtly pro-LGBTQ plus messaging. A voicemail from Kate Kane reveals she is getting married to her female fiance. A member of the militia mentions his other half is a male civil rights lawyer. It's so woke. It's so
woke.
It's only slightly
It's
woke, actually. So like you get away. You got away with it.
Oh, finally, I'm staying away from the woke mob.
Okay, but as you can see, it's only Arkham Knight is on here. So like it's probably.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We're gonna Langston, like 3 of his games weren't even on the list, but I also didn't know it would be like, I gave him he gave me Nintendo games that were like none.
Oh gosh, can I sort mine by most play? Oh yeah, here we go, most hours.
Just hit me with anything,
Dude, is Elden Ring woke?
Elden Ring is probably. Oh, it's
so woke. It's so woke.
Contains
woke.
Overtly pro-LGBTQ plus messaging. Uses body type. Oh, this is a very common one. Uses body type in place of biological sex during character creation. They get so mad if you don't say like I'm choosing a male or a female. They just say like body type 1, 2, like, and obviously some of them are typically more masculine or feminine, have the anatomy. Right? But they're like, nah, I need to put down in fucking writing that my guy is a man or this game is woke. It's so funny.
How's Borderlands woke? Borderlands has got to be woke,
which
right?
Which one? That's what matters. I think the newer ones probably are. Oh, it does matter. Which
Wait,
one?
The pre-sequel is only slightly woke.
Yeah, you're right. Which one are you talking about?
Oh, the OG is not woke at all. Let's go.
Let's go with this one. Yes, we've done it.
Finally.
We've got one. Hell yeah. Okay, so right now you're at slightly woke, and not woke. So you're like halfway.
I will say, I like the original the best. 2 was just alright. 3 was kind of mid.
Well, of course, all right and mid. Those are the woke ones.
It just got too woke for me.
And the pre-sequel's okay, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean that one, really uptrend on that one.
But Tales from the Borderlands really sucks. Okay,
Tales from the Borderlands is really good.
I've never played a Borderlands game. My brother's really into them.
You ever play? Did you play any of the Telltale games?
I've played like half of season 2 of The Walking Dead because I got it for free.
Wait a minute. 0 is non-binary, but 0 was in the original Borderlands.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them.
Somebody get the woke police in here. This is getting a little out of hand. You don't even need to search up Apex. Apex is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'll show you.
Is there a super woke category?
No, there's only full woke. Contains overtly pro-LGBTQ plus messaging. Features multiple LGBTQT plus characters. Catalyst is trans. Bloodhound is non-binary and uses they them pronouns. I don't even know who Catalyst is.
Catalyst was. I can't even remember. I mean, like, I know what she does. She's like she throws goop. She throws goop. And makes a big goop wall.
I see. Okay, final game here. You've actually had 4 of them, which is crazy. 4 out of 5 so far.
Gosh, what have I played? I feel like it seems like it's more single player focused. So I'm trying to think of a good single player game.
I think it's Alex Jones. And what the fuck is this?
That's definitely an ad, right?
I don't even want to know.
What about Subnautica?
Subnautica. Probably
woke.
I'm gonna guess slightly woke. I don't really know much about Subnautica, but
The second one definitely is.
ooh. I was.
Oh, it's
right.
only slightly woke.
Contains-
Subtly anti-gun.
Subtly. What do you mean subtly?
There is a
anti-gun?
lesbian breakup. Listen, isn't that good? You know, aren't we trying to break the lesbians
The
up?
game's director has stated he chose not to put guns in this game as one vote towards a world with less. So wait. The game itself is not anti-gun. It's just the fact that there are no guns in it, and the guy who made it says that.
If your game doesn't have a gun, it's anti-gun.
That's insane. There is a lesbian breakup. Isn't that woke? Or sorry, isn't
That's
that
what I'm
not
saying.
woke?
Isn't that their goal?
Wouldn't that be very?
They've got their priorities completely out of whack. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so anyways, that is my favorite. That's my favorite section. I was gonna say I really pushed for that one. Like I had to fight anyone to put that in my podcast.
Sorry, it was hard to get that through the higher ups.
To the woke police. Yeah. So that just about wraps us up right there, literally crossing the 2-hour mark as we speak. So that puts us right on track. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go? Anything you want to add or just say before I wrap it up here?
Oh man, I don't know, man. Thanks for having me on. We yapped a long time, as we tend to do.
It's true. That's all we do.
But yeah, it was fun to be on. Talk a little Overwatch. I've been trying not to yell at you about my thoughts on perks. I was saving it for today. So
yeah.
I hope you enjoyed all my insightful commentary.
Thank you so much. So that is gonna wrap us up. Tom, is there anywhere? Do you care if people follow you on anything or shout or just trying to shout you out at the end? But
let us be as two passing ships.
Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm in Lane streams, so you should go to his streams if you want to find me.
You'll see him in chat. You'll see him talking to me. He's in the Discords. You can ping him. I'm sure he'd love that. Anyways.
Yeah, ping me a bunch. Sure, yeah. Why not?
Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Again, we are now on Spotify. If you prefer to watch it there, if you got through this whole thing and forgot about it, well, in 2 weeks you'll have a great time. But if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and I don't know what you do on Spotify. Follow it. I don't know.
I'd follow some podcasts on there. I think
that would be very cool. Eventually, Spotify has very long way to go before monetization happens. I'm not really counting on that for a very long time, if ever. So if you want to help, you can. But really, thank you guys so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Not going to shout out a bunch of stuff here. Go watch a video. Check the links down below. Peace out. See you later.